Hey, gang, this is Carl White broadcasting from the secret headquarters here at the Mortgage Marketing Animals. And you are listening to Loan Officer Freedom, number one podcast in the world today for loan officers, voted by you. So thanks so much for that. I really appreciate it. Hey, I'm going to be flying solo. Actually, I'm going to be driving solo. I'm going to be driving solo today. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. So on this episode, this I think this is going to be a short episode. I got a very brief message, but it might be one of the most, or maybe even the most critical message I've ever given here, is the power of our thoughts. Now, before you get too carried away, I'm not a real woo-woo guy. Those of you that know me know I'm very scientifically minded. That I actually have a master's in a chemistry area, and yeah, but this is a really big deal. So let me just tell you a little story real quick. So many moons ago, I was probably about 19 years old, maybe 20, and I was in the Air Force. And I was located at a little Air Force base called Chanute Air Force Base in Rantoul, Illinois. Very fond memories of that place. Rantoul, Illinois, I don't know, probably a couple hours south of Chicago. Anyway, I'd just gotten on base and was early in my career. And me and a couple of my buddies were standing outside this building, getting ready to go in for a class on the Air Force Base. And we see this shiny, pretty little red Corvette pulling up. So this is 1980. So 1980, we see a brand spanking new, shiny red Corvette pulling up, right? And it pulls up, and this captain in there for this officer gets out. We salute him, and he walks on inside. And we're sitting there looking at that little red Corvette. And you have to understand, this is I came from the sticks of Central Florida. So while today we think of a Corvette as just kind of like, look, it's just a car, right? It's just a car. And certainly, they're the Ferraris and Bugattis and Rolls Royce and Bentley. I mean, there's far pricier cars than a Corvette. But to this little country boy, that was quite a thing. And I remember that guy gets out and he walks inside, and we're sitting there drooling over his Corvette. And we were all enlisted, right? We were in essence privates, like kind of a low ranking on the totem pole, right? And one of my buddies looked at me and says, "Boy, I'll never have anything like that." And I remember, even in my 19 or 20-year-old mind, I remember thinking, boy, that's a very powerful statement that he just made. And I didn't say this out loud, right? I didn't want to be a jerk. But I thought to myself, man, that's a really loud statement that I'll never look. We're 20 years old, and we probably got, I don't know, somewhere between 50 and 60 or whatever years to go. So we're like, whatever, 1/4 of the way through this world. We got 3/4 to go. And he's already made a very powerful statement that he will never, ever be successful enough to buy at that time, I don't know, probably a $25,000 car. And today, I don't know, you can get a Corvette. What do they run, like $75,000? Frankly, not that much more than a Honda Civic, right? They seem like almost everything is pretty high price these days. But anyway, so he made the statement, "I'll never ever have a nice car." And I thought, man, that we're really early in the game to make that claim. And that really, it struck me. It was a very powerful moment for me. And I remember thinking, man, I'm going to push those kinds of thoughts away. In fact, and I looked at that little red Corvette, 1980, little T-top. Man, I can see it in my mind's eye right now. And I said to myself, I'm going to have me one of those. I'm going to make that happen. I made a promise to myself, Carl, you will be driving a little red Corvette, right? So fast forward many moons past that, 40 some years past that. And here about 2 months ago, our Freedom Club, which is our high level loan officer coaching program, was up in Asheville, North Carolina. And before I go to those, I usually fly into the area a couple days early and just kind of relax a little bit and, get my thoughts in order, make sure I'm well prepared for these high level loan officers that I can serve them best. Right. So I get in town a couple days early, and I knew one of my high school buddies actually lived not too far from there. So I called him up and said, "Hey man, it's Carl. I'd love to come down and visit you." So went down to his house, and we're kind of catching up on old times and having a real good time. And he said, "Hey man, I got something I want to show you." I said, "Well, sure, man." So we walk out to his garage, and he opens the garage door, and what do I see? I see a 1980 T-topped red Corvette. It was exactly like the one that I saw that day. I mean, when I say exactly, exactly red interior, T-top, 4-speed, and it looked brand new, like not a scratch on this car. It looked just the day that it rolled off the showroom floor. And I just sat there for a few minutes, and some tears welled up in my eyes. I hadn't thought of that moment back in 1980 when I saw the new one when I was in the Air Force and made a claim that I'm going to have one day. I'd forgotten all about it. Like, honestly, gosh, I just hadn't thought about that in probably 30 years or so. And I saw that little red Corvette, and I felt my ears welling up. And my buddy said, "Well, Carl, like what's going on, man? What's behind what's behind the red eyes?" And I told him the story. And I said, "If you ever want to sell that thing, you let me know." And he said, "Well, I got it and I restored it, and I think I want to hang on to it for a little bit." And I said, "Totally cool. If you ever decide to sell that thing, you let me know." So we went back inside and had dinner and spent the night. Next morning, I take back off, and I'm back up in Asheville, and I get a phone call, and it's Reggie. That's my buddy, or Reggie, actually. He pronounced his name Reggie. So it was Reggie. And I said, "Hey, man, what's up?" He said, "Hey, you know what? I've been thinking about it, and it just put on my heart. Were you serious about buying this little car?" And I said, I was very serious. And he said, I'd like to sell it to you. I'd like you to have it." And so I made arrangements. I sent him, wired him the amount for it, and set up for a tow company, or not a tow company, but a hauling company, to go by there and pick it up and put it inside a truck. And when I got home a couple days later, and back here in the Tampa Bay area, this little truck pulled out, my little red Corvette, my 1980, right? It's important. It's the same year. That 1980 Corvette rolled out of that truck, and it sat there in my driveway. And I thought, man, a promise fulfilled, a promise fulfilled. Now, I'm not telling you this, there's nothing special about owning a 1980 Corvette. Heck, a new Honda Civic is worth more, than a 1980 Corvette. So it's not like it's some fancy Rolls Royce Dawn or Bugatti or Ferrari or whatever, right? I never judge people by what they drive anyway. I'm frankly, I'm not really much of a car person. My main cars are, I've got a Jeep, I got a handful of motorcycles, and I've got a 10-year-old Ford pickup truck, which is my favorite. I love driving that thing. So I'm not really a car guy, and not that everybody on that's listening to this couldn't go out and buy a 44-year-old Corvette, right? No big deal. But it was a really big deal for me because I fulfilled a promise. And it just really meant a lot to me that I had put myself in a position that dream of owning one came true. And I think what happened was that many years ago, I put that thought into my head, and it's been working in the background. Hadn't even thought about it for years. It's been working in the background, and who knows, maybe that was part of the driving force for the doing the effort, taking the actions, and putting to work all these years, is putting myself in the position that when I see something that I want, I can go get it. And I think just the power of inserting that thought in my head all those years ago, I think has served me really, really, really well, even though it worked in the background. And I'll bet you, and I always like to look on the positive side of things, but I bet you that young soldier, that young airman that said, "I'll never own one of those," my guess is, I bet he never did. And And I'll tell you that I'm no more worthy than him for sure. And I likely might not even be more capable than him, right? It's just I put this burning desire, and I gave myself the permission to I gave myself permission to make it happen. And I just, I think the take home message of this episode is be very careful what you tell yourself, right? Be very careful and put into your head positive things, that nothing is impossible. I think I've shared this before. My father grew up in a house with dirt floors. Like literally, he had no floors in his house. Well, he had a floor. It was the ground, right? It was dirt. And he did better than his father, and we did have floors in our house, but I would probably classify us as the working poor. So mom and dad worked, and they did much better than their parents, but they had they had a long ways to come from them, just to be quote average, right? And I think the power of telling ourselves positive messages and knowing of what's possible, that we can achieve anything. Because I look at like the jumps and leaps my father made from his father in the world of I'll call success, and then the leaps and bounds that myself and the lovely Mrs. White have made from our parents. And again, I'm honoring our parents and our grandparents by setting the path for us. But if you'd have told me, when I was whatever 15 years old, that I'd have a 8-figure multi-million-dollar net worth, I would have. I don't know if I'd have believed it, right? Because what I came from, and yeah. So this, I hope this speaks something to you. This is kind of just, I'm putting myself a little vulnerable here, and I don't want you to think it's the superficialness of owning the car, right? Because again, the car is nothing special, or to you, that car is nothing special. That frankly, I've taken some first class, tickets to Europe that cost me and Maria more than what I paid for that car. So the car is not like this untouchable thing, but what it stands for was a really, really big thing. So Carl, how do we apply this? So in your day-to-day routine, I want you to put your shoulders back a little bit, right? I want you to stick your chest out a little bit. I want you to make a claim of what you want. Like, what do you want? Like, what do you want? I think the first step to having what you want is decide what is that. And if you don't know what you want, well, then the map to get there is going to be very confusing, because you don't even know where you want to go. So if you want to go somewhere, you have to know, where am I now? A reality check, where am I now? And a reality check of, what do I want? And I'm going to tell you, like, when you put to what you want, kind of, point out the left field and point to the fence, like you're going to hit a home run. I was in a Facebook group the other day, and saw a loan officer in there, said, man, my goal is to close one loan a month. Man, if I could just ever do that in my career, that would be awesome. And I thought, man, let's set it just a little bit higher. Like, let's make a small decision. Let's push disbelief to the side, and let's make a little bit larger of a claim. Like, find somebody that's doing epically and go, I want to do what that person's doing, or figure out, in my dream life, what does that look like? What does that cost? How many loans do I need to close to have my dream life? And then now we know how many loans we're going to close. Now we just have to map that out, because somebody on this good, great earth, likely right there in your own area, is doing exactly what you want to do and getting the exact results that you need to do. So you just copy what they're doing, right? That's all there is to this stuff. This is not hard stuff. And so anyway, I think that's it. Yeah, and again, it's not about the superficialness of the car, cause like some of my and I'm sure yours too, some of our collectively greatest accomplishments are those things that we help other people, whether it's contributing to the Little League in your town. We do that. That brings me a lot of joy. Myself, Maria, and some of the leadership over here at the Mortgage Marketing Animals, we built a shelter for women outside of Cartagena, in South America for battered women, and that helps us out. We do scholarships for kids that otherwise couldn't go to college. We cover scholarships. So I'm not trying to point a spotlight on the superficialness of a Corvette or a Rolex or a diamond ring or anything like that. But I think what some of those things stand for, at least to us on a personal level, and promises that we keep, that we make to ourselves and keep that, I think it's a big deal. I think it's a real big deal. So anyway, that's about it. So hopefully you got something out of this. If nothing else, boy, insert in a burning desire. Be very careful with the conversations that you have in your head. And boy, if you're going to swing the bat, point to the fence. I don't know that you're going to hit it to the fence. I don't know. But I know if we point to the fence, we have a much more likelihood of having that happen. So, hey, if you want some help mapping some of this stuff out, knowing what's possible, and then the strategies to put it into place to not just, I want you to listen to me. I don't think I think that thing of if you just think it'll happen, it magically does. I don't believe that. I think what happens is we put that thought in our head that we want this to happen, and then our brain comes up with ways to make that happen, right? So it's not just magical woo-woo stuff. That action items have to come with it. And when you're ready for the action items to go and take this to a higher step and get those things that you're worthy of, those things that you deserve, meet me over at freedomclubdemo.com, freedomclubdemo.com, freedomclubdemo.com. And it'll take you to a calendar. It'll ask you a couple questions so we can prepare. It'll take you to a calendar, pick a time and day that works best for you. And we'll sit there on my dime, not yours, on my dime. We'll sit there on a meeting for 45 minutes and we'll map out exactly what it is that you want to achieve and what you want to map out. So I think that's it. Hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. And boy, if you think some loan officers could use this message today, one of inspiration, one of pointing to the fences, one of claiming it, right? Name it and claim it. Forward this to 3 of your favorite loan officer friends. I'd appreciate it. They would too. I'll talk to you when you call in at Freedom Club Demo, and I'll also see you on the next episode of Loan Officer Freedom. Thanks again, everybody. Bye-bye.